both live between worlds.
Except I never forget which team I'm on.
Are you certain of that?
With the limited time that we had left to record for the Injustice 2 event in London last week, we decided to lab a little bit of Green Arrow and Cyborg as there were two characters that we're really excited for. We're going to be doing a video for each, not necessarily a getting started video, more so going over some of the more obvious changes that the characters have received in Injustice 2, because they've both been given quite heavy adjustments, but are more so additions rather than things being replaced. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Does Daddy approve, Cyborg?
You don't know my father, Scarecrow.
I know you're afraid to fail him.
Fundamentally, Cyborg is similar in terms of old strings and specials. They all make a return exactly as you remember from the first game, but now he has some new additions as well. The first notable difference with Cyborg is his upwards projectile. The input is down back 1 and it involves him shooting the same arm cannon projectile he always fires, only this time it's at a diagonal angle towards the sky. This move can be charged and dash cancelled like the rest. Using this move whilst airborne will cause a diagonal shot towards the ground. Meter burn this to shoot a second projectile in a straight line. Think of it as like a reverse of what the old projectile does. This is a big deal because it covers a very important section of the screen, which is the low section that your opponent used to be able to cover by just neutral ducking against you in the first game. Now, you don't need to perfect the punishing input of a clean instant air straight shot. The diagonal blast covers this for you. As a primarily keep away character, Cyborg players will no doubt welcome this new addition.
Now for the big guns.
Stop having fun.
His uppercut special remains, but this time the input is down back 2 to make room for his diagonal blast, and the meter burn extension has been adjusted. Whilst the meterless version remains the same, the meter burn add-on will now strike back down as an overhead, instead of the up blast that the move used to be. The main benefit for this is that Cyborg can now follow up with something mid-screen after the overhead hits, giving him more damage mid-screen without needing to use meter burn back 3 for meager damage like before. You can now get similar damage, but for 1 bar instead of 2. Obviously, my combos off it though were definitely not optimized. You can delay when you want to use the meter burn, either earlier or later, as the window for meter burn is huge. The one thing I noticed in this build was that the meter burn would not come out on block, so perhaps no mix up there if it's final. The final thing about this move is that it has changed his corner combos. Now the meter burn up blast of the uppercut used to exist is gone, you're not going to knock the enemy so high mid-combo. You're going to have to adjust things here a little bit. Whilst the missile special hasn't changed in terms of animation, damage or input, it's no longer an unblockable. Instead, in this build, the missile hit as an overhead. This could be useful though, as Cyborg's back 2 is still a low, meaning he could have some tricky hard to block situations, but only time will tell here. Here's the big one. Cyborg's character power has been completely redone. He can now summon one of 2 droids to use as an extra attack. A flying version that will appear and then dive bomb towards the opponent and then explode on impact. It tracks pretty well, so it doesn't matter if the opponent moves as it spawns, it still tends to fly towards them anyway. There's also a floor version that will slide across the ground and once again explode on impact. You can choose to summon the droid in front or behind you, either in the air or on the floor depending on which one that you pick, but being able to choose in front or behind is probably going to actually be really useful for specific setups or depending on where you are on the screen. Both hit as a mid, each serving a cool purpose. The airborne one seems to really help his keep away, and the floor one looks really useful for setup. I wasn't able to really explore this much at all due to lack of time, but giving him some much needed additions to both his setup game and keep away game was definitely needed. The final thing is that the droid moves the second it spawns, so even if you get hit while summoning it, it moves regardless, kind of like a budget combo breaker in that kind of situation. I expect the character power to be pretty important in his Injustice 2 version for sure. And finally, let's talk about Cyborg Super. Now, unfortunately, I kind of derped and forgot to record it at my end, but the wonderful people over at PlayStation Access have allowed us to use footage of it from their video. We kind of helped those guys capture some footage, so thank you very much for that. But the big thing for me is the fact that the startup is different. It now starts off like a ground blast, as opposed to an armored, fast, straightforward charge, which it used to be. The charge was great for beating projectiles, as an anti-air, as a wake-up, and this new startup looks a little bit different, so he's probably not going to have the utility on startup of the first, but we'll have to really see what the new Super can do.
You're barely human.
I know what I am, Scarecrow.
I think Cyborg is likely to have the same general game plan that he had before, but with all of these additions, he should be able to do that job much more efficiently. I'm excited to see what people come up with his trait setups as well, as beyond gameplay, the droid's just a really cool addition to his character design. Within gameplay, I have no doubt that it's going to be really important.
Cyborg wins.